Hello, family. Hope all is well. Sending you all lots of love. I don't know if you all been hearing about all the things that are going on in Minnesota, but wow, there are some things I didn't even have a clue that was going on. The theft and how high in the hierarchy it's going. So let's look into this. Here we go.
Trump's war on drug trafficking getting even larger in scale, the president declaring cartels as unlawful combatants, paving the way for wartime powers.
5:18 a.m., Minneapolis, Minnesota. A federal raid in the dark. A judge under secret surveillance. Encrypted routes. CJNG shipments. The largest breach in Minnesota's history. If you want the full truth behind this operation, hit like so this story reaches more people.
And they're operating these networks around our entire country. So we are going to keep our entire country safe. We're going to protect all Americans.
6 kilograms of cocaine found inside the judge's own office, carried by the woman appointed to uphold Minnesota law. This wasn't a cartel warehouse. This was the seat of justice, turned into a supply line. This wasn't an outside threat. This was betrayal wearing a judicial robe. If you want to see how deep the rot goes, we go deeper. 5:18 a.m. Minneapolis was quiet and cold. Frost coated the car windows, and nothing on the street signaled trouble. But a federal raid had already begun. Unmarked cars pulled up outside Judge Layla Mahad's office. Doors opened, heels clicked on the pavement, and FBI and DEA agents entered without a sound. A battering ram smashed through the reinforced door. The building shook. Family photos beside the American flag swayed, a reminder of an oath once sworn, now broken. Agents swept room by room. Drawers were empty, lights cut through the darkness. Behind a false wall, they found 6 kilograms of tightly wrapped cocaine and 7 firearms stored in foam-lined cases. Then came the shock. A hidden safe covered in dust was opened to reveal $81 million in sealed cash. On the desk, an unlocked phone flashed encrypted messages, routes, dates, and commodity codes tied to CJNG shipments. This was betrayal built inside the law. If you want to see more of this network, click like and comment yes below to support the channel and help produce more content. The deeper agents dug, the more terrifying the picture became. Judge Layla Mahad, 49, is Somali. She had not been trapped or blackmailed. She had built the door, held it open, and chose it against the country that had given her power. She was an architect of a network. In 6 years, more than $61 million in cash, plus another $118 million in suspicious transfers, moved through 29 shell companies registered in Minnesota, Wisconsin, Panama, and Curacao. Not one of those companies sold a product. Not one had a phone number. Yet they handled more money than some banks. Every dollar came from one source, CJNG cartel routes. The people involved were not nameless gang members on street corners. They were officials invited into the system. A bank director approved transfers at midnight. A local police chief signed special access forms for cargo screening. And in the shadows of these approvals, trucks rolled, shipments moved, and cash flowed back. This was not bribery. This was system design. At 2:17 a.m., cameras caught Judge Layla Mahad entering a dark community center through a side door. No lights, no security. 3 men followed. One was later identified as Abdi Khalaf, 36, wanted in 2 states for armed robbery. They stayed 17 minutes. No words, no bags, only doors opening and closing, and the unmistakable sense of a deal happening in the dark. Then agents uncovered the darkest layer. Layla was not only moving narcotics, she was importing men. More than 580 Somali nationals had entered Minnesota through channels connected to her network. Not families, not refugees. Young men with criminal histories, gang tattoos, and military scars. Within 16 months, 57 shootings, 91 armed robberies, 9 overdose deaths, 22 forced prostitution cases, all traced to the same cluster of recruits. One attack outside a supermarket in Bloomington left 2 grandparents wounded. Police later learned one of the shooters carried a PCA badge issued by a care clinic that billed Medicaid for $1.7 million in fake services. Money meant for elderly Americans was used to finance armed violence. The line between law and crime had not just blurred, it had been erased by the very judge entrusted to defend it. A judge didn't just break the law, she built a system around it. If that makes you uncomfortable, you're not alone. Comment system and stay here. At dawn on a Thursday, the investigation no longer lived in files and evidence rooms. It grew legs, wheels, uniforms, and orders. What had begun as a quiet breach inside a judge's office transformed into Operation Northern Razor, a full-scale federal strike intended to cut through an infection spreading across Minnesota. For weeks, maps had been pinned across a wall in the Emergency Command Center. Red dots, blue arrows, circles around warehouses, clinics, apartment blocks, garages, and 2 riverfront piers. None of these places looked dangerous from a distance. They were ordinary buildings, the kind people drove past every day. But behind the walls, a cartel economy was operating, protected by signatures, permits, and silence. At 4:03 a.m., across the state, phones buzzed with a single command: immediate attack. More than 100 federal and local units moved at once. Black SUVs rolled down icy streets. Tactical vans positioned themselves behind apartment complexes. Highway patrol blocked exits. A Bell helicopter hovered above a line of warehouses near the river, its blades scattering powder snow into the dark. The first strike landed in a former trucking depot outside Brooklyn Park. The building looked empty, a forgotten property with rusted signs. But when agents breached the side door, they found industrial packaging machines, barrels of cutting agents, and pallets of sealed boxes waiting for distribution.
My family, this could all be allegedly, but it sounds like this is the law telling us the story. So, but this is a surprise to me how big this goes, how far it stretches.
2 men attempted to run between storage rows,
And
but
I really believe that's how a lot of things got blamed on the foundation of Black American Indians and the Israelites, because whoever have dark skin was all put together and say, hey, blacks are doing crime. We may fight amongst each other, but we're not doing a lot of this here. But I hate this happening to Minnesota. This is sad. Let's listen.
9 teams intercepted them before they reached the exit. On a metal desk, a shipping manifest listed medical supplies destined for a clinic that did not exist. 20 miles south, another team hit a converted church basement. Stained glass windows glowed faintly as dawn approached, yet the scene inside had nothing to do with worship. Plastic tubs of pills, vacuum sealers, and cash counters filled the room. The air smelled of chemicals. A volunteer who had arrived early to prepare coffee froze when he saw agents. He was not armed, but he was terrified. Behind a wall, investigators found evidence that the building had been used for nighttime handoffs, organized through coded text messages. The most violent resistance came at a house in Burnsville. When tactical units advanced, 2 figures burst from the garage, sprinting across the yard. Snow flew under their feet. They carried no flags, no colors, just the instinct of flight. One vaulted a fence and tried to disappear into the tree line, but a drone overhead locked a white crosshair on the moving figure. Agents closed in. Within minutes, he was on the ground, hands cuffed, breathing steam into the frozen grass. By noon, 27 locations had fallen. Agents seized more than 200 kilograms of narcotic stacks of cash from ceiling vents and floorboards laptops filled with routing data appointment books matching meetings with officials who had already resigned. The shock spread faster than news alerts. From Duluth to Rochester, people stepped outside to find police tape across familiar places, helicopters circling, and unmarked trucks departing with evidence. It wasn't a foreign invasion. It was a purge of corruption hidden in daylight. Operation Northern Razor had not ended the war, but it had cut through the first layer, exposing how deeply the rot had grown. The raids did not end with the sound of battering rams and helicopter blades. They detonated outward, rippling through local government, businesses, and neighborhoods that had never imagined cartel influence could move so close to their front doors. In the hours that followed Operation Northern Razor, agents began processing the evidence. What had looked like a scattered collection of addresses was now revealed as a connected system, a machine that turned drugs into money, money into influence, and influence into protection. Inside the command center.
Wow, family, this is so amazing to me that all this going on right here in America. We just got to stay prayed up, and it's not our fight. Family, if you like the video, like it, share it if you agree, and leave your comments. I love y'all. Bye.